Hey everybody, we're back here at the Electric Violin Shop. We're doing a review today of a Boss Harmonist pedal. This is the Boss Harmonist PS-6. I actually have an HR2 in my rig, which is the old school. It's been discontinued. This one has a bunch of really cool new features. I'm not usually a big manual guy. I usually sort of just pick something up and go to town with it. This, you're going to want to read a manual on it because it's got several different functions. Each knob does something different depending on what function you're in, okay? And we will talk about that a little bit. So here's the pedal, Harmonist PS-6. This first knob right here turns my dry signal. This is toward dry. That's the open D right there. You can hear the harmony coming in. And then it goes all the way to the effect. So you can blend them in together. Okay, so that's that. Then this next key is the shift. And in the manual, it'll tell you I can pick from, actually if I go all the way to this side, that's an octave up and an octave down. Depending on which feature you're using, those outputs may be different. The left output and the right output may be different. And in that mode, you see we got the two outputs here, output A and B, A and B. In this mode, output A will be my direct sound plus an octave up. B will be my direct sound plus an octave down. So that's sort of how that works in this situation. Then this one is minus a fourth and minus a sixth. You'll be able to hear this. Kind of a nice little chamber music sound there, right? Then we've got minus an octave. So then we've got minus a sixth. Minus a third. So I'm going to play open A and open D, and if you get a major third above each of those, you should have D and F sharp, A and C sharp, so it should sound like a major 7 chord. We do have that. You heard a little bit of warbling there if you're listening. It will accept 2 different notes. You can play double stops into it, but the results can be a little unpredictable sometimes. And then we come over, we got up a third, which you've heard, up a fifth, and a sixth. You guys figure all that out. Up an octave. And then we got 2 choices here. On the far end, you've got one that's plus a third and a fifth. So that's your stack, right? And then you've got plus a third and minus a fourth, which just inverts that chord. It takes your top note and brings it underneath. Maybe another question will be some vibrato. How does it handle that? As you can hear, it does handle that pretty well. It does vibrate both your pitch and the one underneath. And then we'll do a glissando here. Okay, so you hear that that's pretty smooth too. Kind of cool, but that's sort of the harmonist mode, okay? So the first thing you got to understand with the harmonist pedal is that you've got to be perfectly in tune for that thing to work right. It's got to be tuned to 440. If my band tunes a little south of 440 or whatever you're doing, this thing has to be locked in on 440. The reason you got to be perfectly in tune for that thing to work right, you have to tell what key you're in and then what split you want. And so you got to be perfectly in tune for it to work right. And you have to make good note choices. And what I mean by that is some of you jazz guys play stuff that's a little more complicated than that. And if you give it a flat 9, it's going to wig out. It's not expecting that, right? So chromatic stuff and stuff that's accidentals, you know, if there's a 2 major chord in your song, or 3 major chords, some stuff that's maybe a little different, you've got to play ahead of time with that song to make sure that the harmonist is going to act the way you want it to act. So doing a lot of improv with these things right off the bat before you've got some practice can be a little dicey. So I do want to stress that you got to make good note choices. It is a computer, and it's going to think like a computer. Okay, so it doesn't think like an artist. Now we're going to go to the pitch shifter. So we've got major and minor keys. You select your key here, tell it what's going on, and there are some options with the pitch shifter. You've got some sound. You can choose between -2 octaves and +2 octaves. This gives us down 1 octave. Polyphony's pretty good on that, and then we'll also do some glisses. Okay, so that's an octave, and of course you can balance that. You can get just your signal, open D, blended, and then just a pure pitch shift. So you don't have chromatic choices here. But you've got -2 octaves, minus an octave, minus a seventh, minus a fifth, +3, +5, +7, +12, +24. Those are semitones. All those numbers are semitones, by the way. You know, from the octave we come up, this is -7 semitones, which of course is a fifth. So. And then there are 2 splits in here. There's 2 that are doubles. One that's a +7 and a -5, and this one is +12 and -5. So. This is not an intelligent mode. So once you get into pitch shift mode, then it is more, it's just semitones is all it's working with. It's not making key decisions for you. So if you're in a jazz situation where things are a little different, maybe that's the way to go. Now let's talk about the detune. The detune is the next mode up. Detune is a situation where it allows your signal to come through and then some amount of detuning along with that. And by detune we mean you know, out of tune. But it's not out of tune to the extent where it feels like it's an out of tune note. It's just enough out of tune that it sounds like more than one person is playing. Because people don't always play perfectly in tune, as you may know. This one is +5 cents. So that's 5 cents. That's pretty tight. When you blend those together, though, it almost sounds like 2 people are playing. So that's +5. There's a -5 too. -10. -15, -20. That one's starting to sound out of tune, but that's an interesting effect depending on how you want to use it. And then we've got some double detune. A lot of these were +5 or -5. This one is +5 and -5. Here's ±10. You also have the option for ±15. That's just some cool stuff you can do with that. That's the detune. Now, we get to the fun part. This is where we got a little bit, we can get a little bit wacky here. We got a super bend. These two buttons become my rise time and fall time. Now we've got some choices. And so I'm going to look at here, and we got this is a -3 octave dive. So you can see the light here tells you whether it's on or not. This is one where you don't click it on and leave it. It's a touch. So we'll play the D string. Okay, and I can control the fall time. I can slow that time down. Or we make it faster. See, the rise time is slower, right? So that's your 3 octave dive. You also got like a 1 octave dive. Okay, and then got a 1 octave jump. Okay, I got the rise time pretty slow. Make the rise time faster. Okay, and then there's a couple that are a little different. We're gonna look at this one. It falls 2 octaves and does sort of a weird vibrato thing. We're going to come up and check this one. Also climbs 2 octaves and does that weird vibrato thing. Okay, maybe not an effect you use on every song, but would be sort of fun once in a while. And then there's this last one. It's got 2 voices, and they do this. So you hear that. You got one going up 2 octaves and one going down 2 octaves. It sort of gives you an idea what all those knobs and buttons do. $169. It's a great price on that pedal. It really adds some cool stuff to your rig for a pretty low price. And as you guys know, Boss pedals are virtually indestructible. I've had my HR2 better than 15 years, let's put it that way. Thousands and thousands of shows, roadies, carting these things all over the place. They've been literally all over the world. I've never had a failure with a Boss pedal. That is the Boss HR2 Harmonist. Really like the pedal, does some cool stuff.